What's going on, y'all? Stay out of prison, folk. I might look kind of funny, but I ain't no fool. So we're gonna go in because right now they're in the process of trying to do something with Fulton County Jail. We have the Department of Justice that came in, and they're gonna let us know how they feel about what's going on in Fulton County Jail. So y'all listen up. I'm gonna prime in. Pause. I'm gonna chime in. Let's see what they're talking about. Oh, I'm in traffic.
For the Civil Rights Division at the U.S. Department of Justice. Joining me is Ryan Buchanan, U.S. Attorney for the Northern District of Georgia. The Justice Department has completed a comprehensive investigation into conditions at the Fulton County Jail here in Fulton County, Georgia.
Mind you, don't forget, you've had people who have been viciously unalived by way of stabbings. You had one guy who had bed bugs. You have medical conditions. The Fulton County Jail been out of line for a long time. These people are habitual violators, bro. It's been ugly for a minute, but I'm gonna try not to interrupt so often.
Our investigation finds long-standing unconstitutional, unlawful, and dangerous conditions that jeopardize the lives and well-being of the people held there. We cannot turn a blind eye to the inhumane, violent, and hazardous conditions that people are subjected to inside the Fulton County Jail. Detention in the Fulton County Jail has amounted to a death sentence for dozens of people who have been murdered or who died as a result of the atrocious.
It sounds like they ain't playing. We gonna see though.
Conditions inside the facility. It's not just adults, but also young people who are subjected to conditions and treatment that violate the Constitution and defy federal law. Many people held in jails in our country have not been convicted. They are awaiting hearings, trial dates, or are serving short sentences for misdemeanors. We find that the Fulton County Jail does not adequately protect incarcerated people from violence, such as stabbing, sexual abuse, or even murder. Physical deficiency.
I forgot to mention that there's a lot of man-on-man graping without the G. Graping. And that's weird because I remember a time where it was taking place in like prison, but in the county jail, from what I have heard, Fulton County it's like a war zone because you got gangland, you got drugs, you got graping, you got stabbing going on. And these are people who have not even been found guilty yet. These are people that are just waiting. But let's hear.
In the environment, such as unlocked doors and large holes in the walls, permit and even facilitate the brutality. Incarcerated people use makeshift weapons built out of jail fixtures to attack others, including vulnerable people with mental health needs and 17-year-old young people. In 2023 alone, we identified 314 stabbings and more than 8,000 assaults. This rate of violence exceeds what we've seen in other cities across the country. The Fulton County Jail had as many stabbings in a single month as the Miami-Dade County Jail had all year. And that's a facility with one.
Hey man, that lets you know a lot because I've been to Dade. Dade, ain't gonna say it's off the chain, but you know. But you was telling me that Fulton County had the same amount of stabbings that they had for a year, they had them in a month. Oh my God, that is violence, bro. That is violence. You don't want to be in an environment like that because it's too volatile. Imagine the people that you avoid on the street. Imagine that y'all all sitting in the same cell and everybody pissed off. Hey, that's a volatile environment, bro. That is subject to boil over at any time, and it can get dangerous. It clearly has gotten too dangerous. Sorry for interrupting.
1.5 times more people. Since 2022, 6 people in the jail have lost their lives to violence. I'll walk through additional core findings set forth in the report that we're issuing today. Living conditions at the jail are hazardous and unsanitary. Housing units are flooded from broken toilets. Roaches, rodents, and pests abound. Standing water, exposed wiring, and vermin make living areas unsafe. The jail does not provide enough food, leaving people severely malnourished. The jail fails to provide constitutionally adequate medical and mental health care to people at the jail, exposing people to preventable bad outcomes, including injury, seriousness, illness, pain and suffering, mental health decline, and even death. The lack of security staff and failure to prioritize health services impede access to care. Medical emergencies do not receive appropriate medical responses. People at risk of suicide do not receive sufficient protection, and people with serious mental health needs do not receive adequate treatment. The jail uses...
What I will say is that in every facility I've ever been in, those who suffer with some degree of mental health situation, they're overlooked, even on the streets.
Solitary confinement, also known as restrictive housing, in discriminatory and unconstitutional ways that expose people, particularly 17-year-olds and people with mental health disabilities, to risk of harm, including acute mental illness and self-injury. The jail uses lengthy confinement in restrictive housing as punishment without written explanation, which violates due process. As Georgia is one of only 4 states where the juvenile justice system's jurisdiction ends at 16, there are 17-year-old boys and girls also held at the jail. And these 17-year-old boys and girls are exposed to particular harm. The jail does not provide special educational services to 17-year-olds who are entitled to them under a federal law known as the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act. It fails to protect these children from violence, including sexual abuse, and it uses isolation to punish them, which both violates their rights and contradicts clear research that such isolation uniquely harms our young people.
I was a 19-year-old who was subjected to isolation for a long period of time. When I tell you, and when I say isolation, I mean in a cell where if I reached out my arms, mind you, I'm 6'3". I've been 6'3" since I was about 12 years old. But if I reach my arms out sideways, I can touch both walls. If I reach my hand up, I can touch the ceiling. And if I lay down on the ground and stretch my arms out, I could touch the... No, I'm lying. The cell was longer than... in the whole cell. I could lay down and put my feet on the bars and touch it with my hand, touch the wall with my hands. So that's the kind of dimensions that you're dealing with. I lost myself, bro. When I say I lost myself, just like you do everything that you can to like stay sane, but to be in a room where you cannot leave this room, and to be so young and to not understand so much about yourself, bro, you'll lose yourself. I lost myself, I ain't gonna lie. And then Alto had like them rats in the hole. They had them big rats. So if you had your food down low in that, man, people was trying to steal your food with broomsticks. They would stick them in while they thought you was asleep. But then you also had rats. They had rats that was like real big, but.
The jail staff also uses excessive force. This includes deploying tasers without reasonable cause. For example,
and I have been beat up by staff on several occasions. On certain occasions, I probably deserved it. on one occasion, a guy tried to inflict bodily injury on me with a makeshift broom. He had took the broomstick and he had then shaved it down where it looked like a African spear of some sort. And he rigged his door up and he tried to, I was hitting the shower. I know I'll tell this story later on, but I was hitting the shower, trying to warm the shower up, but I had not taken my clothes off. So I guess he thought because I was warming it up that I had already gotten naked. And then he came in there, well, he had rigged his cell up. He came out there and he had that shank. And then he just came at me. Luckily, I still had my jumpsuit on and my shower shoes. And I had been working out with this dude like a couple of weeks prior to me going to the 8th floor. I had been working out with this dude who knew karate or some form of martial arts. And for weeks, all we worked on was like blocking. And when this dude was trying to shank me with this broomstick, bro, it just like kicked in on some real Mr. Miyagi type action. That dude could have saved my life, or maybe my natural instincts would have kicked in. But what I'm telling you is I seen it and it just kind of came second nature. But my arms were scarred up, but he didn't hit no vital organs. So, but my point in saying is that when the police came in there, they beat both of us. They beat both of us. I'm talking about eyes swollen, lips bleeding. They beat both of us and put us back in the cell. Facts.
Detention officers tased a man after he said he felt like hurting himself and needed to see a mental health specialist. Such violations stem from understaffing, poor policies, and lack of training and supervisory failures. The summary that I have just shared is harrowing enough, but individual experiences are gut-wrenching. For example, LaShawn Thompson, a black man with serious mental illness, entered the jail on low-level charges and was confined to the mental health housing unit. 3 months later, staff found him dead in his cell, infested with lice, and as a medical examiner concluded, neglected to death. Several months before that, another black man with serious mental illness died after he stopped taking his medication. 2 more black men with mental health disabilities were...
I'm gonna say this. I was incarcerated with a guy, I think they used to call him Bird. Bird didn't have no business being in the cell with us. This was like, I'm probably 19, 20 years old. And then there was another name, a guy named, his name was Debo. Debo was certified mental health. I want to say he was a good dude, but you never know what Debo, he was a mad masturbator too. But, you know, sometimes when they feed us lunch, you know, you get a sandwich and they might have a pork sandwich or a beef sandwich, or whatever the meat is, or the cookie or the orange or the fruit. And just like anything else, you got somebody who like oranges, you got somebody who like wheat bread. So there's always an open market for exchange. And then I really didn't interact with a whole lot of people. Mind you, I'm young, impressionable, and stupid. But Debo was like, I got 2 sandwiches for the fruit. And I was like, 2 sandwiches for the fruit, bro. That's 4 pieces of bread, 2 pieces of meat, 2 pieces of cheese. I can eat one now and eat one later on. I'm like, bet, come on with it. So I go up to his room. What threw me off the first time was this. You know, a lot of times when you're incarcerated, you take your pictures and you may make a little photo album out of them just so you can like go down memory lane. And you know, this your photo album. This is people that you know, your children, your loved ones. It just help you, like you just want to zone out, bro. Like you look at your photo album. It's a big commodity. So
were murdered by their cellmates.
No, that's not what I'm doing. So I'm telling my story. Go ahead. So when I go up there, I see he's got photo albums, but his photo albums are all pictures of people who come out of the magazine. Like, he's got Cliff Huxtable, Felicia Rashad. He's got Jennifer Lopez. These are not even sexual pictures. He's got the random pictures of the people, of like just not famous people, but the people that you see in magazines. He got to cut out, and he done made a photo album. So I was just like, okay, this is where all the magazines are ending up. But then also when it was time to trade fruit for sandwiches, when I tell you this dude had a collection of sandwiches, I don't know how long, but you can see the age of the sandwiches decrease as he got, like the oldest sandwich was at the bottom. You could see the green and the mold and the gray hair growing off him. And I was just like, this dude he different. He scared me, because I was just like, bro, you just saving these sandwiches, and you got a stack of these sandwiches, and these sandwiches ain't no good, bro. Like, this is dangerous. I'm sorry, I don't keep interrupting y'all, but yeah, that was
after
crazy.
we opened our investigation, 6 more Black men died at the jail. All of this is a racial justice issue. 91% of the people living in these abhorrent, unconstitutional conditions are Black, as compared to 45% of Fulton County's overall population. It's also important to note that the vast majority of the approximately 2,000 people held at the jail have not been convicted of a crime. They are awaiting hearings and have yet to be tried, many of them. There are also a significant number of people with mental health disabilities. During our investigation, we worked closely with correctional, medical, mental health, and educational experts. We physically inspected the jail and observed housing units. We visited medical and mental health service areas. We reviewed thousands of pages of documents and interviewed dozens of jail staff and leadership. And we listened to the people held inside the jail and their advocates and their family members. We thank officials for their cooperation, and we thank all of those who provided valuable information and whose advocacy predates this investigation. I'll note that officials have taken preliminary steps to improve conditions, but they simply are not enough. No. We hope our findings report sounds an alarm that will prompt the Fulton County Board of Commissioners and the Sheriff's Office to swiftly implement the comprehensive reforms necessary to ensure constitutional conditions going forward. At the end of the day, people do not abandon their civil and constitutional rights at the jailhouse door.
Right.
Jails and prisons across the country must protect people from the kind of gross violations and unconstitutional conditions that we have uncovered here. I'll now turn the floor over to U.S. Attorney Buchanan.
Good afternoon. I'm Ryan Buchanan, and I'm the United States Attorney here in the Northern District of Georgia. 1974, Supreme Court Justice Thurgood Marshall wrote, "When the prison gates slam behind an inmate, he does not lose his human quality, his mind does not become closed to ideas, his yearning for self-respect does not end, nor is his quest for self-realization concluded." 50 years later, our comprehensive investigation into the conditions of confinement at the Fulton County Jail has, at its basic level, revealed that the men and women and young people who find themselves housed at the jail are often left to wonder whether their humanity remained intact once they crossed the threshold of the jail facilities. Whether at the main jail, which is known to many in our community as Rice Street, or at its annex facilities, people in custody in Fulton County who are accused of crimes or awaiting formal charges or trials must protect themselves from brutal physical attacks by other detainees, subjected to frequent excessive force, manage their well-being with inadequate food and unsanitary living conditions, and hopes that they can find access to a strained medical and mental health care program. The most obvious casualties of the civil rights violations occurring in the jail are those who leave the jail in body bags. But our investigation has revealed hundreds more injured, traumatized, and dehumanized people, all of whom are just as deserving of the protections of the Constitution as all of us in this room. Since we announced our investigation in July of 2023, the United States Attorney's Office for the Northern District of Georgia and the Civil Rights Division of the Department of Justice have worked diligently to meet our shared mission: to advance the public safety, to uphold the rule of law, and to protect civil rights. There is no greater example of this mission at work than protecting and vindicating the rights of those who are under the custody and control of jail authorities, who themselves are duty-bound to protect the public and those in their custody. We began our investigation after LaShawn Thompson was found in his cell, neglected to death, covered in lice. But in the time since his death, several more young men detained in the jail have died, and many died violent deaths. Our investigation revealed unacceptably high incidents of assaults and stabbings. In some cases, most disturbingly, jail staff witnessed and allowed the attacks without intervention. 2023 alone, there were over 1,000 assaults and more than 300 stabbings in the Fulton County Jail. It outpaces the rate of similar assaults in other major city jails, almost 2 to 1. Those numbers only reflect the reported attacks. Many detainees told our team that they explained that they feared for their safety. They were reported that they had been stabbed or assaulted. One such detainee was left untreated for multiple stab wounds for a week until our team alerted the jail of his injuries. Also unaccounted for in these disturbing numbers are numerous allegations of violent rape, sexual assault, and harassment. The crisis of violence in the Fulton County Jail has resulted in part because of the lack of effective classification and housing planning, which allows for extremely violent individuals and gang members to be housed with vulnerable and low-risk individuals. And particularly, vulnerable individuals are most subject to violence in the jail, including people with serious mental illness,
and
gay
young
and
age
transgender detainees, and 17-year-olds.
That's going to be...
Fulton County Jail employs too few guards relative to the number of detainees.
This is how they're going to... They need to shut it down. But because if you focus on the regular human beings, nobody don't really care. Let's just be honest about it. It's like, oh, you broke the law, then whatever comes. But when you start saying that juveniles or young people, 17-year-olds, then you start messing with that LGBTQ community. When you start dealing with the transgenders, trans community, you're going to have some issues. And when you start dealing with the mental health, you're going to have issues. So they're going to tug at the heart of the people and the pockets of the people, because don't nobody care about regular people. That's just being honest. So you're gonna hear that come out. You're gonna hear that. That's gonna be the issue. Cause then they're gonna get certain population of people on board. And that's if this is just, cause right now they're just talking. It don't look like that. They've been talking for years. So let's see.
Needs to keep people safe, and poor maintenance of basic fixtures allows violence to go unchecked. But numbers aside, jail staff are often unaware of violence because they conduct inadequate security rounds. We uncovered incidents where hours or even days passed before victims of assaults were discovered by staff. In one shocking case, while an officer sat in an observation tower, a man was killed, his hands and his feet bound. Not found until his body was extremely cold. Additionally, hundreds of broken light fixtures and cell doors allow violent detainees to move about at will in the shadows. sometimes through the very walls of the facility.
They did have a situation where,
equally alarming,
they did have a situation in Fulton County where a guy went to another guy's dorm because it was a hole in the wall and unalived this dude. I wonder if they're gonna talk about that.
men and women in the Fulton County Jail also experience violence from the staff. Our investigation showed that the crisis of violence, lack of security at the Fulton County Jail is paired with staff that resort to the use of force too quickly and too often. We found that staff were regularly deploying tasers and pepper spray without any warning for minor rule infractions like failing to hang up a phone quickly enough, yelling, or not putting items away as instructed. The rampant use of tasers is particularly disturbing. Risk of cavalier deployment of tasers is not just the temporary pain of electrocution. Detainees have been hospitalized with serious injuries caused by probes that are embedded in sensitive parts of the body, like the neck and even in the bone. The excessive use of force in the jail is not confined to a few bad actors. Officers lack policy and training guidance on whether and when force is appropriate. And when
it's a part of the policy. It's what they all do. I ain't gonna say they all do it, because you're gonna have some good people there. But good people is like apples, man. You'll have a good apple, but you put that, put that good apple in the bad bunch and it turns into a bad apple, man. It's just the nature of the beast. It's group thing. And these people are not top paid officials. It's the bottom of the barrel, man. These people trying to put food on the table. That's how it's easier to turn these people. It's easier for gang members and people with some type of financial influence or capabilities to turn these people, because you're not paying them nothing. They ain't, you really putting their life on the line. Because once you put somebody in there with a faulty system and they're not trained correctly, they just putting their life in danger, bro.
Just cross the line. The jail rarely holds them to account. In some cases, the policy is glaringly inconsistent with established use of force techniques. Written policies explicitly state that staff may deploy their tasers against suicidal or emotionally disturbed persons without any assessment of danger to themselves or to others. Staff are permitted to use force when a person interrupts their work. And the use of force reports and supervisor reviews bear this out. Supervisors rarely assess a need for the use of force if they do it at all. Perhaps most concerning, our investigation showed that even when the jail determines that an officer used excessive force, discipline is virtually non-existent. Those officers go back to their jobs to repeat the same conduct. Aside from the glaring risk of violence, detainees face the insidious threat of unsafe living conditions, constant exposure to rodents and pests, and an unsettling disregard for food safety. Detainees in the Fulton County Jail lack basic necessities like working toilets and sinks. They're exposed to flooding.
So I'm gonna fast forward a little bit, because y'all saying the same thing. It's a hellhole. What else are you saying, though?
When people are released from the Fulton County Jail, they are frequently left without the medication needed to sustain their health.
What is your recommendation? It sounds like Fulton County Jail needs to be shut down. Do you recommend Fulton County Jail be shut down immediately?
Our report actually sets forth the remedial measures that we think that the jail can put in place to cure the violations that we have identified. They are set forth in the back section of our report. They include improving staffing and security, using a housing and classification system, reducing contraband through increased oversight, improving the physical conditions of the jail, ensuring that medical and mental health care is constitutionally adequate, and ensuring appropriate use of restrictive housing to avoid serious risks associated with isolation. So in short, we can fix these problems, and we are pleased that Fulton County has pledged to cooperate with us in doing so in the road ahead.
We've heard a lot back and forth between the Fulton County Sheriff and the commissioners about who ultimately is responsible for these problems. Were you guys identifying kind of a point person who
still needs to lead these charges? Is it a funding issue? Is it a sheriff issue?
Well, we're looking forward to working with Fulton County and the Fulton County Sheriff's Department to negotiate a resolution. And
So I'm gonna tell you what this sounds like to me, and we'll wrap this thing up. Sound like some BS. Cause if y'all know what the issues are, in Fulton County know that these issues have not just occurred just magically out of thin air. This shit been going on for years, decades. That's just how it's known in Atlanta or Fulton County on Wright Street. It's known to be that way. So now y'all pointing out, y'all saying y'all doing this, man. If a change come, man, it'll surprise me. I do know that Cobb County is putting in the robots. I don't know what the funding is. When I come back, I'll have some numbers, because I'm driving. I'm coming back from Warner Robins now. But I'll try to come up with some numbers and just like some real facts. But this shit been going on for a long. When was the last time that the Justice Department announced anything? I ain't buying it, bro. I have to see change. Seems like y'all need to move all them people to somewhere else and fix it, or tear that shit down and build another one or something. But then, you know, they may be trying to get it done. I don't want to be an idiot and, you know, speak all the way down. Will Fulton County Jail be torn down? That's gonna be my thumbnail. So, hey man, I appreciate the subscribers. Like, share, comment. I pay attention to that type of stuff. Thank you so much for the energy, whether it be negative or positive. Some of you like it, some of you don't like it. It's your boy Butler, man. I do look kind of funny, but I ain't no fool. Stay out of prison, bro.